Good evening. My name is Lee Grissom, and this is my video post for week 11, and it's defining what culture means to me and how it affects career choices and career decision making. Um, Culture to me is defined as a set of values and beliefs, a worldview, and it is associated much with the family in which I've grown up with, the area of the country in which I have grown up in the United States, which is the southeastern part, also known as the Bible Belt. Um, I've grown up I've lived in rural areas and suburban areas, never directly in a metropolitan area, so there are values and cultures all associated with that have shaped my personal experience of culture. I think it's important to note that members of a certain racial group or ethnic group may share cultural values and cultural experience. However, they may experience differences as well. So it's important as counselors to be aware of that and not to automatically assume or stereotype that members of the same racial or ethnic groups share the same cultural values. Those cultural values can be very individualized as well to a particular person and their experience. Some of the distinctions between different cultures that we should be aware of would be individualism, which is common among North American cultures. The idea of competition, struggling to get ahead, get the deal done, less about personal relationships, more about individual accomplishment versus family responsibilities. So there's a definite difference in cultural values among certain groups. For instance, the Hispanic or African American or Asian cultures may value collectivism more as compared to North American cultural groups, which may value individualism. Once again, be reminded that this can vary according to levels of acculturation that a particular person may be experiencing. So it's interesting to consider that cultural values or a cultural experience or your experience of your cultural group can constantly be changing and evolving as a person is growing as a client. So it's important for us to check in with our clients on a personal level and not just assume that they automatically associate with the cultural values, all the cultural values of a specific racial group or ethnic group. Some of the other distinct differences to be aware of in the counseling environment would be issues of eye contact, issues of personal space, issues of the appropriateness of self-disclosure, the amount of emotions that would be displayed in social interaction, a focus on the self versus the self in relation to the family. All of these issues need to be taken into consideration in the context of a client's culture. So for me personally, how these things affect career decisions and career choices, obviously, it's a very important consideration for me as a counselor, for all counselors. We are encouraged and mandated and trained to be specifically aware of cultural differences and to be culturally sensitive to those that we work with. So in any workplace, these cultural differences will impact the dynamics of work relations or work relationships and how it affects career decisions about who you can work with, who you don't feel like you can work with, what are the appropriate ways to negotiate in the work setting. So we as counselors could be particularly useful in facilitating understanding in the work environment among groups or people that have different cultural values, promoting understanding and a sense of cooperation and respect for people with different cultural values. So this is my post for week 11, and that is my definition of culture and how it relates to career choices and decision making. a quick aside, career assessments, in considering career assessments, different cultural groups may score higher in certain areas such as helping or creative arts or um, social areas, whereas other cultural groups may score higher in entrepreneurial or investigative type jobs. So culture does play a very significant part in career interest and career choice, and it's important to be aware of that. And that concludes my post. Thank you and have a great evening.